Welcome, welcome, everybody. Welcome to another Community Fit, and in particular, a Adjusting to Change Toolkit class. I'm going to jump into sharing screen here. Let's see. One moment. Let me do an adjustment. Okay. Raymond or Alicia, someone with audio, can everyone see this?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Feel free to chime in if at any point we get lost or anything like that. We are here today to talk about some nervous system work, and I thought this would be best guided through some visuals. We have been on a journey so far, kind of talking the first week about mindfulness and its influence over our capability of adjusting to change. And again, what is change? Change can be anything. Change is a change at work, a change at home, a change in your body, a change in the weather, a change in culture, in global politics, domestic politics, whatever it is. And the way our nervous systems pick up on all of that. And hopefully today we get a little bit closer into making sense between the mindfulness and the nervous system toolkit work we did last week, which we'll revisit again here shortly, and kind of bringing it into how your nervous system plays into all of this, and in particular, how your environment, and today really jumping into how other people impact all of this. Because the journey we're on is kind of going into some emotional literacy and eventually working our way up into relational intelligence. How can we be better around people with people? And how can we really create cultures and communities where people are more helpful to each other, giving each other more thumbs up nervous system moments and fewer thumbs down nervous system moments, because together is how we get through change. So let's move forward. What we're really here to talk about today is the concept of neuroception. Neuroception is our body's way of scanning the environment for cues of safety or danger. Whether you are aware of it or unaware of it, your body is listening, is feeling, is smelling, is tasting, is seeing all of the environment all of the time. And your nervous system and your brain in particular are editing out the explicitness of all of that. What do I mean by that? Even if you are staring at your computer screen right now, listening to what it is I'm saying, that's what you're paying attention to. That is the thing you are conscious of right now. But your body is also picking up on the temperature in the room, the chair you're sitting on, the clothing, any smells in the room, any other sounds that might be present. What is above you and to the right of you and to the left of you? It's picking up on all of that information right now, and it's determining unconsciously for you, are you safe or are you unsafe in the moment? And it's bringing all of that in and it's having to kind of hold hands with the stuff you are paying attention to. Let's make that a little more anecdotal, a little more real life. What do I mean by that? Well, let's say you are in a conversation with someone, and let's get really specific. Let's say you are in a professional conversation with a teammate, and you're there and you're talking about a project or a thing going on, right? And all of a sudden, you notice you're getting a little more agitated with this person than what you would, or maybe you are less agitated than you would normally be with that person. Is it what's going on right there in that moment? Or is it what your body is picking up on and things that have happened before that or happening in the moment? Meaning, your body is quite literally responding to the lights overhead, the other sounds in the room, the thing that just happened before you walked into that meeting, that thing that you watched on the news before you even got to work, the dream you had before you even got to work, the um, dinner plans you have after work. It's bringing in all of that information and it's affecting what is happening in the moment, right? That's why when we're talking about mindfulness and its context, it's not just what is necessarily going on in the moment, it's what's going on in the near and distant past and future. And because your brain is bringing in all of that together, it's like a global picture. It's also what is going on inside of me. How am I digesting in the moment? How am I breathing in the moment? And how is all of that kind of affecting the way we are with each other? So, neuroception is a concept designed by Dr. Stephen Porges to talk about the way that our sensory systems are constantly picking up on information all the time. It's like a cell, you are a cell tower that is being pinged on and pinged off of all the time, whether you are neurotypical or neurodivergent. We have these same exact operating systems, just tuned a little bit differently. We'll talk about that here in a moment. But this is everyone. And this is not just human beings. This is mammals. These are your dogs, your cats, your horses, your cows. All mammals have basically the same hard wiring when it comes to the ability, the capability of sensing safety or danger. Now, let's dive a little bit deeper into that. Where do the signals come from? All of these pings, all of these things that we're talking about, the things that affect your nervous system. Well, first and foremost, they come from an outside environment. What is happening in the spaces around you? What did happen to you? What do you perceive will happen to you? They're coming from internally within. Again, how fast is my heart beating? What is going on with my digestion? Because before you are conscious of a thumbs up or a thumbs down moment, your nervous system is already informing your body. Get blood flow to the legs because we're going to have to get up and get out of here. Get blood flow to the heart because we're going to need to run or we're going to need to fight. Get blood flow to the belly because we're safe here. We can focus on resting and digesting right now, and also between nervous systems. Your nervous system is not isolated. Your nervous system is part of a social network that we would call the social regulation system or co regulation. Let's drop into some of that toolkit work and kind of make it make sense within this paradigm. Outside environment is one of the biggest things that affects us. What is one of our nervous system toolkit practices? It's bucket number two. That is sensory foraging, orientation. So, last week we talked about visual orientation. Here's the invitation. Just start to look around your space and just take a moment to notice what's above you, to the left, to the right. Maybe go a little bit slower, paying special attention to your exits, the windows, the doors, areas that if all of a sudden a spontaneous fire hit, you could get out of that space. Your body wants to know that it's safe in the moment. And if it becomes unsafe, how do I get up and get out of here? Paying attention to that. Now, I could also close my eyes and listen. I can do a auditory foraging, meaning closing my eyes. What do I hear in the space? What's the sound that's furthest away? What's the sound that's closest to? Just kind of noticing. Now, if orientation and sensory foraging works really well for you, maybe stay there. Calm your nervous system, ground your nervous system, regulate your nervous system through that. Outside environment is also touch. Bring your hands together, get them warmed. Take your nice warm hands. Last week we talked about taking nice warm hands, placing them onto cheek, throat, chest, or belly. All of those quality therapeutic touch. I could also just notice touch through my kinesthetic system, meaning my entire body. Maybe pay attention to the chair you're sitting in right now. Could you allow yourself to yield, relax, sink into, and feel a little more supported by the chair? Noticing where that touches your back, how it touches your legs. Where are your feet? Do they feel grounded right now? Internally within, right? Internally within, take in an inhale, let out an exaggerated exhalation. That breath work rebalances oxygen and CO2 levels. That's that's what breath work does. Oxygen, CO2. The balance of oxygen and CO2 is registered quite literally in the heart, and there's like these little hairs in the heart, and they flutter and interact differently with the oxygen and CO2 levels in your blood. And if they're fluttering at certain degrees, your body goes, "Oh, we're okay here." And if they're fluttering in other degrees, your body goes, "Uh-oh, something's wrong here." So, breath work is not just about the air coming into you. It's about the oxygen and CO2 levels in your blood. Prioritizing lots of inhales and holding your breath gets you ramped up, gets you ready to go. It tells your body fight or flight. Prioritizing exhalations tells your body we have time, space, capability to rest, digest, to relax, to be to be present. So, got a lot of work to do, lots of breath work with lots of inhales. Need to de-stress, sink in, settle, lots of exhalations. Last week we did physiological sigh. This week we're just going to take in a short inhale, exaggerate the exhale. Mixing outside and inside is movement. I can just rock left and right. I could also, and this is one of the best ones for like anxiety and stress, rotations. I'm literally just going to twist, take a look at what's behind me, maybe do a couple of breaths, and then come back and do the other side. Twist, take a look, couple of breaths. And also do some vocalizations. Take in an inhale and hum. Mm. That humming movement quite literally plays like a guitar string my vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is a wandering nerve. It connects my gut, my heart, my lungs, my facial muscles, my aliveness. And it is through that vagal nerve complex, which is a fancy way of a bunch of nerves that tell my brain what is going on in my body and how my body is responding to the outside stimulus. That vagal nerve complex is how we tap into social nervous systems. It is how my nervous system is in conversation with your nervous system, and your nervous system with hers and his and theirs, and so on and so forth. Let's explore that a little more deeply now. If at any point you need a breath, if at any point you need to rock, support yourself. You've got some tools now. Here's a little story to get us started. There's a book called My Stroke of Insight, written by Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor. Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor is a doctor. Her field of study was neuroscience and the brain. Well, to kind of fast forward the story, X amount of years ago, 20 plus years ago, Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor suffered a stroke. And so, as she's going through the stroke, because she's a neuroscientist, she knows what's happening in the moment. So, she's kind of from the inside out able to watch herself go through this stroke. The stroke incapacitates her and she has to go into the hospital. Now, for most people, that stroke kind of knocks out some like really emotional qualities in the brain, right? Like most strokes are right-sided. This was let me get this right. No, most strokes are left-sided. This was a right-sided stroke. So she's in the hospital and she's unable to pull context. She has no idea what someone's name is. She has no idea on relationships. She has no idea about time. She's lost her words. She can recognize that she knows what an object is, but doesn't have the recall to name it anything. So she's in the hospital and she tells this story in her book, My Stroke of Insight, that she can quite literally feel when a nurse comes into the room, if they're a good nurse or a bad nurse. And what is a good nurse? A good nurse is someone who cares for her as a human being, who takes time, has a smile on their face, has a pleasant energy around them. A bad nurse isn't someone who's like negligent, but it's treating her like a body on the table, comes in, measures, pokes, prods, leaves. She tells the story further in the book that she's lying in the hospital bed, day 2 or 3, and in walks a woman. She has no idea who this woman is, no idea of who she is to her. But the minute this woman walks in, Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor says she feels warm, she feels safe, she feels loved. The room is filled with love, and she knows things are going to be okay. Later in the book, we find out that that person was her mother. She had no idea who her mom was, but she could feel love. Now, is that a woo woo, energetic happenstance that's out there? Maybe. Or is it her nervous system recognizing in another nervous system that there's love, that there's warmth, that there's care? Is it a measuring of these micro movements in the face? Is it neuroception? Chances are probably. So here's an invitation. I want you to think of a time when you felt fully present and connected. Think of a time, and maybe even think of who you were with, what was going on. Maybe recall a memory of a time when you felt fully present and connected. Who were you with? Where were you? What was going on? How did it make you feel? What other words are coming up for you? What images? What's happening in your gut when you feel, when you recall being fully present and connected? Now, if your eyes are closed, imagine and you have an idea of who you were with. Remember, this can be a human, this can be a dog, this can be a cat, it can be a horse, whatever, a baby, a spouse, a friend, a parent, a sibling, whoever, a stranger. Who were you with? And then close your eyes and just imagine yourself in that presence. And then let's move on. Feeling connected to people, to moments, to situations is very nervous system driven. Oxytocin, again, we talked about O2 and CO2, oxygen and carbon dioxide in the blood system. Oxytocin is a neurotransmitter chemical in the brain. It's sort of the hugged and be hugged. It's the warm and fuzzy connection feeling chemical in the brain that I feel connected, I feel supported. Turns out it's a drug in the body. Oxytocin is released when we gently stimulate our skin. So, somatic practices releases oxytocin. Even more so when someone else gently caresses and touches our skin. This is precisely why dogs and cats like to be pet. It is quite literally an oxytocin release for them. You too. Hugs, touches, cuddles, even if it's just yourself. When we have a pro-social experience, what is a pro-social experience? A pro-social experience is when I feel I'm safe, secure, and connected to another human being. The best way to describe it is imagine you and your best friend. And whether that's on a couch, that's out at dinner, that's playing golf, that's on vacation together, it's at a movies, it's playing cards, whatever it is. When you feel connected, open, safe, you are actually releasing oxytocin into the body. Turns out, same thing when you simply recall a pro-social experience. That last experiment we did, closing your eyes, recalling a time when you felt safe, connected, supported. Who are you with? What was going on? Simply by closing your eyes and recalling that memory, your body begins to release oxytocin. Here's the magical thing for how smart your body and your nervous system are. It can be tricked. It doesn't really distinguish very well between a real and perceived situation. Real being it's happening in the moment, perceived is a memory. The memory of it can trigger your nervous system to breathe faster, slower, harder, softer, whatever it is. And when we share stories, we release oxytocin when I tell you a really wonderful story, like the Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor one. By sharing a story about love and feeling loved and feeling caretaken and taking you into that story that you've never experienced, or maybe you have at some point, that story of someone else's, by me sharing it with you, releases oxytocin in your nervous system, releases oxytocin and gets you feeling better. And here's the benefits. Oxytocin helps you feel more tranquil. It improves communication because when I'm safe, secure, grounded, when I'm having a thumbs up moment, I am more transparent. I am more receptive and perceptive. We're going to talk about that next week with emotional literacy. And there's increased trust and empathy between each other simply by doing some of that nervous system regulation work, simply by recalling good moments. And if we can get a little more safe and secure with each other, we don't even have to work at empathy and trust. It is present when we are there. Now, it's a lot. There's a lot going on. That's why I advocate mindfulness, nervous system toolkit, especially if you are going into a big meeting, an important conversation, somewhere that feels critical. Get yourself prepared beforehand with some breath work. When you're in that moment, ground yourself in the chair. Take that opportunity to kind of look around, hold your hands and do a little caressing, whatever it is, because all of that is going to just bring in organically, without having any thought, some trust and some empathy into the scenario. Now, think of a time that you felt the opposite of present, of trusting, of safe. The opposite. Maybe it was an argument. Maybe it was something mildly traumatic. Don't let This is not an advocation to jump to the level 10 event. Maybe it's a level 2 or 3. Maybe it was someone following you a little too close or a little too trafficky, a little too crowded somewhere. A little gentle disagreement and just kind of notice how that makes you feel. How is that memory different in your body than the previous memory? What do you notice in your heart, in your belly, in your chest, in your bones, and in your breath? What you just experienced was the opposite side of neuroception, right? Neuroception is sensing safety and unsafety. Social engagement systems. This goes into polyvagal theory, that nervous system thing that controls quite literally who and how you are in any given moment. Well, when we feel totally safe, secure, present, and connected with people, that pro-social moment, we would call that a ventral nervous system moment. That's our rest and digest. I feel safe and secure in the moment. Or I don't feel safe and secure right now, but I have some toolkit exercises to make me feel a little more safe and secure. When we are in rest and digest, we are delighted, excited, and relaxed. This is, I feel safe, I feel present, I feel joyful, I feel connected. Sympathetic is something a little different, right? This might be how you felt when it was memory number 2, a different memory. This is when we feel distracted, irrational, quick to judge, quick to make a decision, quick to react. This is our fight or flight system, right? Ideally, we would be more in when we are being social with each other in rest and digest. That allows us to be present, that allows us to make smart decisions, and we can help us and others get there through toolkit exercises. If I feel regulated when I show up My nervous system influences your nervous system to feel a little more regulated, to feel a little more grounded. If you are already feeling regulated and grounded, but you're kind of tapped out, you're not mindful of it, and I show up and I'm chaotic, I'm a little more sympathetic activated, fight or flight, agitated, a little quick talking, a little here, a little, your nervous system automatically picks up on that. And it likely will pull you into the chaos. Now, if I'm feeling chaotic and you are conscious and mindful of feeling grounded, and you can spot in me that I'm feeling chaotic, you can help support me by just grounding your nervous system. Because my nervous system is going to pick up on, I feel chaotic. Why does she feel so relaxed right now? Maybe we're okay here. We borrow from each other's nervous systems all the time. Who wins? Who wins out in that tug of war? The person who's mindful, the person who is intentionally guiding the nervous systems. Now, there's another one, a freeze response. When something feels very chaotic, when it feels like too much to run from, we go into freeze and fawn. This is when we feel disconnected, overwhelmed, and blank. This is when we both show up chaotic and it feels like, well, there's no hope. There's nothing we can do. And we just sort of give in. This is when things are happening too fast, too quick, too soon, or that we haven't received what we've needed for too long. Our nervous systems will kind of freeze a little bit. How do we get out of that? With each other and with toolkit practices. Now, why are we saying all of this, right? Well, going back to those week ones, that mindfulness thing, we're going to play with what's called state mapping. Again, neuroception, the unconscious process of registering if a person in a place is safe, dangerous, or life threatening. This is maybe where you want to take some notes. We've kind of drawn in now that we've got to pay attention. The toolkit exercises and the mindfulness there help us pay attention to when I'm feeling dysregulated, in pain, disembodied, to when I'm feeling more regulated, more at ease, more embodied. The more we practice those, the more we understand and create the language of the body. That is neuroception. Neuroception is not, this is my brother and I should feel safe with them. Neuroception is, this is my brother and today I feel very safe. But my brother is acting weird, or I don't feel safe around my brother in these moments. And how do I know it? My body feels different. I feel different. I feel a little more under the line. I don't know how to describe that. I don't know what that is just yet, but I'm not feeling myself. What nervous system mapping or state mapping will help you discern is giving some language of, I feel good here or I don't feel good here. So, in any moment out of the day, all of these neuroceptive short stories are available to you. You just got to remember to do them. How do we remember to do them? We make it a habit. Maybe you set an alarm, and every time that alarm goes off, maybe it's once a day, maybe it's every 3 days, whatever it is, in that moment, you kind of bring yourself through this. My autonomic state is, what's the autonomic state? This. Am I in rest and digest, fight or flight, or freeze and fawn? Do I feel delighted, excited, and relaxed in the moment? Do I feel distracted and irrational in the moment? Or do I feel overwhelmed and kind of numb in the moment? That's number one. In any given moment, am I happy to be there? Do I want to get out of there? Or do I feel overwhelmed? In that moment, what is my system responding to? That's that mindfulness thing. That's that context thing. What is going on that is making me in the moment feel more settled or not? In that moment, if I feel settled, what does my body want to do when I feel settled versus what does my body want to do when it feels unsettled? It's kind of learning and understanding. It's creating that library of experience. When I feel settled or unsettled, safe or unsafe, my brain makes up the story that. This is really critical, specifically in change. Often, here's how it works: context has shifted in a change. I'm in a new place. I'm with new people. I'm in a new environment. I don't know what's coming. My body picks up on that. This feels different. I don't know what this is. My body registers, my brain registers. This is unsafe. And so my brain makes up the story that this change is bad, when really the actual story is this is all new and it's going to take some time. And I've got to anchor myself in practices and with people to make this new context feel okay. When I review all of that story, I notice what? That maybe I feel a little safe. I feel a little okay here. And lastly, in order to co regulate better together, in order to make